The observatory hidden on the moon's far side was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. The night shift was usually uneventful, but not today. Choi Min-woo stared at his monitor, his coffee forgotten as strange patterns scrolled across his screen. "That's not normal background radiation," he muttered, adjusting parameters to filter out cosmic noise. The pattern remained, too regular, too structured. Min-woo's hand trembled slightly as he reached for the communication panel. "Director Song, you need to see this." Within hours, the observatory buzzed with activity. Scientists clustered around screens, speaking in hushed tones. The patterns continued, growing stronger, more defined. Dr. Han Jae-yun arrived the following morning, eyes tired from her rushed lunar shuttle journey. As Earth's foremost expert in theoretical alien languages, she'd been tracking potential extraterrestrial communications for 15 years. Nothing had ever looked this promising, or this troubling. "The signal structure suggests a complex language system," she explained to the observatory team. "But it's not attempting communication with us. It's observing." Jae-yun worked without breaks, her small office filled with notes and calculations. She slept only when exhaustion overtook her. On the fourth day, she made her first breakthrough, identifying repeating elements that corresponded to geographical coordinates on Earth. Her blood ran cold when she realized what she was seeing. The signal wasn't just observing. It was mapping Earth's military installations, power grids, and population centers with frightening accuracy. More disturbing was the signal's destination, a moving point approaching our solar system. Jae-yun's findings triggered an emergency meeting of the United Defense Council, a dormant organization created decades ago for exactly this scenario. Representatives from 30 nations gathered in an underground facility beneath Geneva as Jae-yun presented her evidence. These signals contain detailed analyses of our defense capabilities, resource distribution, and population centers, she said, her voice steady despite her fear. "They're being transmitted to what appears to be a fleet of vessels approaching from the direction of Alpha Centauri." The room fell silent. Then Admiral Kim Do-hyun stood, his weathered face serious under the harsh lights. "How certain are you, Doctor?" he asked. "The data is clear," Jae-yun replied. "This isn't a greeting or an invitation for dialogue. This is reconnaissance for invasion." Do-hyun nodded grimly. "Then we prepare for war." The council erupted in voices, some panicked, others skeptical, a few determined. President Yoon called for order, then turned to military intelligence. General Park stepped forward, activating a holographic display. "We've been tracking these objects since they crossed the Kuiper Belt. Our deep space telescopes confirm at least 30 large vessels, possibly more hidden by the larger signatures." "How much time do we have?" someone asked. "At current velocity, 2 months before they reach Earth orbit." The council worked through the night, drafting plans for a unified response. By morning, Operation Aegis Shield was born, the first truly global defense initiative in human history. Meanwhile, intelligence agencies combined resources to learn more about the approaching threat. Intercepted communications between the scout probes revealed fragments of information about the invaders. Jae-yun worked with cryptanalysts to piece together what they could. "They call themselves the Terith Empire," she reported a week later. "They appear to be a collective of species ruled by a dominant race. We've identified references to at least 17 other worlds they've conquered across 3 star systems." More disturbing was what they learned about Terith technology. Their propulsion systems suggested technological advancement centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. Their weapons, glimpsed through intercepted tactical communications, could potentially devastate continents. Admiral Kim Do-hyun assembled his top commanders in a secured facility beneath Seoul. The room was sparse, with only a simple table and chairs. No electronic devices were allowed, too risky with an enemy that could monitor signals. "The Terith have done this before," Do-hyun said. "Their tactics never vary because they've never needed to change them. They arrive, demonstrate overwhelming force, demand surrender, and absorbed the conquered planet into their empire. Commander Lee looked up from the paper reports. Our combined military might doesn't come close to matching what we're seeing in these scans. No, Du Hyun agreed, but that's not where our advantage lies. He stood, walking to a map of the solar system on the wall. They expect us to behave like all the others, to either surrender immediately or mount a conventional defense that they can overwhelm. He turned to face his officers. That will be their downfall. The plan that emerged was audacious. Earth would appear to prepare conventional defenses, missiles, fighter squadrons, ground troops, knowing the Tereth would detect these preparations. Meanwhile, specialized teams would develop less obvious countermeasures. As weeks passed, the approaching fleet became visible even to civilian telescopes. Panic rippled through the public despite government attempts to maintain calm. Religious groups proclaimed the end times. Doomsday preppers retreated to bunkers. Others held end-of-the-world parties, deciding to face apocalypse with music and drinking. Yet something unexpected happened amid the fear. Nations that had been enemies for generations quietly set aside their differences. Border disputes were shelved. Resources were shared. When the Chinese premier offered Japan access to their newest defensive technology they'd denied sharing even with allies, observers realized how completely the world had changed. The Tereth fleet reached Mars orbit exactly 57 days after detection. Earth watched through telescopes as the massive ships, some nearly the size of small moons, positioned themselves in a perfect formation around the red planet. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then, a smaller vessel detached from the fleet and accelerated toward Earth. "It's a scout," General Park told the Defense Council. "Based on previous patterns, they'll perform final reconnaissance before the main fleet advances." President Yoon leaned forward. "Are we ready, Admiral?" Do Hyun met her gaze steadily. "As ready as we can be, Madam President." The scout ship destroyed Earth's outer satellite ring with casual efficiency. Military satellites, communication relays, weather monitoring stations, all reduced to debris with precision strikes. Earth did nothing. "Let them believe they've crippled our observation capabilities," Du Hyun ordered. "Let them think we're blind and afraid." The truth was far different. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth worked together with single-minded purpose, not just to survive, but to teach the approaching empire that humanity would not be an easy conquest. The Tereth fleet approached Earth orbit, battleships arranged in perfect formation against the backdrop of stars. Humanity held its breath, waiting for first contact with an empire that had never known defeat. 300 meters beneath the streets of Seoul, behind 7 security checkpoints, and a door that could withstand a nuclear blast, Lee Sun-ho sipped cold coffee and studied the alien code fragments on his screens. Around him, 50 of Earth's best hackers worked in focused silence, the soft clicking of keyboards the only sound in the vast underground chamber. "Found something," called out Kim Na-young from across the room. Sun-ho rolled his chair over to her station. Na-young had been analyzing intercepted Tereth communications for 20 straight hours. Her eyes were red-rimmed but alert. "Look at this pattern," she said, pointing to a scrolling sequence. "Their quantum encryption is incredibly advanced, but they're using a surprisingly predictable rotation key." Sun-ho studied the pattern, then smiled for the first time in days. They've never needed better security, he realized. No one they've conquered had the ability to exploit this. He called the team together. Most had been criminals before the invasion, hackers who'd once broken into government systems or corporate networks. Now they were humanity's secret weapon. "We can't match their firepower," Sun-ho told them, his voice echoing in the concrete room. "But we don't need to. They have a weakness they don't even know about." The plan they developed was audacious. The Tereth relied on quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication across their fleet, technology centuries beyond Earth's. But their system had security vulnerabilities that would have been obvious to any human hacker. Sun-ho named their creation Quiet Thunder, a virus designed to infiltrate the Tereth network, lie dormant until activated, then seize control of their ship's critical systems, not to destroy, but to disable. The challenge isn't writing the code, explained Sun Ho to Admiral Kim Do-hyun during a secure briefing. It's delivery. We need a way into their network. Do-hyun nodded. Keep working. We'll find you your way in. Above ground, Earth made a show of preparing conventional defenses. Nations rolled out missile systems that military analysts knew would be useless against Tereth shields. Fighter squadrons practiced formations in plain view of Tereth scanners. Troops and tanks deployed to strategic locations. Let them see what we want them to see, Do-hyun instructed his commanders. Let them believe we're primitive and desperate. Dr. Han Jae-yun worked closely with Sun Ho's team, her understanding of Tereth language crucial to the virus design. Late one night, as they refined the code, she explained what made their plan possible. The Tereth evolved differently than we did, she said. They discovered quantum mechanics before basic computing. Their entire technological development followed a different path. They never had to worry about hackers, Sun Ho realized. Jae-yun nodded. They've perfected quantum technology, but neglected basic cybersecurity. It's like building a house with impenetrable walls, but leaving the windows open. The work continued day and night. Meals were delivered. Cots were set up in corners. Family visits were conducted via secure video links. The fate of humanity rested on people who, just months ago, many would have considered criminals. 2 weeks before the main Tereth fleet was expected to reach Earth, the team faced their biggest challenge, testing the virus without detection. We can't risk a live test, Sun Ho told them. We have one shot at this. It has to work the first time. Instead, they built simulations based on intercepted Tereth communications. They created virtual replicas of what they believed Tereth systems looked like. They ran the virus through thousands of scenarios, refining it after each failure. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Park Min-soo, a quiet programmer who rarely spoke in meetings, approached Sun Ho with a tablet. I was thinking about delivery, Min-soo said softly. We don't need to breach their network from the outside. We can make them bring the virus in themselves. His plan was brilliant in its simplicity. The Tereth would scan all Earth communications before invasion, looking for strategic information and signs of surrender. If carefully crafted packets were hidden in normal Earth transmissions, the Tereth would inadvertently collect the virus components during their intelligence gathering. Like a Trojan horse, Sun Ho said, smiling. But spread across thousands of seemingly innocent communications, Min-soo added, no single packet looks suspicious, but together. They presented the plan to Admiral Do-hyun, who immediately approved it. Within days, fragments of quiet thunder were embedded in everything from military communications to public broadcasts to internet traffic. Each fragment was harmless alone, but designed to reassemble once inside the Tereth network. As the operation progressed, Sun Ho received an unexpected visitor in the underground facility. President Yoon herself arrived with minimal security, wanting to see their work firsthand. The world knows about our missiles and our soldiers, she told the team. But you are our true defense. History may never know your names, but humanity will survive because of what you're doing here. The Tereth fleet entered the solar system right on schedule. Their scout ships destroyed Earth's outer satellite network with casual efficiency, exactly as predicted. Military communications went dark. Weather monitoring ceased. Commercial satellites blinked out one by one. In military bases around the world, commanders followed Do-hyun's orders and did nothing. The public panicked as communications became spotty, but the silence was strategic. In the underground facility, Sun Ho's team watched the quiet thunder components being collected by Tereth scanners. The virus fragments were being pulled into the alien network exactly as planned. Assembly has begun, Nae-young reported, monitoring the specially designed tracking system. The Tereth are downloading our virus thinking it's just background noise in the communications they're analyzing. When the first Tereth scout ships destroyed Earth's outer satellites, humanity watched in silence and waited. The real battle wouldn't be fought with missiles or fighter jets. It would be fought with code. 4 days after the satellite attacks, as the main Tereth fleet approached Earth orbit, Sun Ho called Admiral Du Hyun on the secure line. "Quiet Thunder is fully integrated into their network," he reported. "Dormant but ready. We can activate it on your command." Do Hyun's voice was steady. "Good work. Now we wait for them to make their grand entrance." He paused. "How confident are you in the virus?" Sun Ho looked around at his exhausted team, people who had worked with single-minded focus to create humanity's best hope. 100%, Admiral. They won't know what hit them." The sun rose over Tokyo on a clear morning, casting long shadows across the city's towers. Office workers waiting for trains looked up as darkness fell over the station. At first, many thought it was an unexpected eclipse. Then the screaming began. A Tereth warship, 7 kilometers long, had positioned itself directly above the city. Its dark metal hull blocked the sun, casting an artificial night over 20 million people. Similar scenes played out simultaneously across Earth. New York, London, Cairo, Sydney, Rio de Janeiro, all shadowed by massive alien vessels. In Seoul, President Park Yoo-jin watched the live feeds from the emergency command center. Her face remained calm, though her hands trembled slightly beneath the table. "Madam President, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," her communications director reported. The screens in the command center flickered, then displayed the face of a Tereth. The alien looked almost reptilian, with smooth bluish skin and eyes that seemed to glow from within. When it spoke, its mouth moved strangely around the human words. "People of Earth," the creature announced, its voice deep and oddly musical. "I am Supreme Commander Vanter of the Tereth Empire. Your world is now part of our glorious domain. Surrender your weapons and prepare for integration." The message, repeated in multiple languages, broadcast through every television, radio, phone, and speaker system on the planet. In some cities, people ran in panic. In others, they stood frozen, staring upward at the massive ships. President Park pressed a button on the conference table, "Open a channel to respond." Her advisors exchanged nervous glances. "Remember the plan," Admiral Kim Do-hyun whispered. "We need time." The president nodded, then spoke clearly into the microphone. "Supreme Commander Vanter, I am President Park Yoo-jin of the Republic of Korea. I speak temporarily for Earth's nations. We request time to consult with all Earth governments before responding to your demands." In the underground facility beneath Seoul, Lee Sun-ho and his team watched this exchange with intense focus. The president's request was exactly what they needed. It would force the Tereth ships to maintain open communication channels with each other as they coordinated their response. "Look at all those access points," Sun-ho said, pointing to his screen where new connection nodes appeared across the Tereth network. "Quiet Thunder is spreading faster than we projected." Kim Ne-young nodded, her fingers flying across her keyboard. 37% infiltration already. The virus is replicating through their command structure. Supreme Commander Vanter's response came after a brief delay. "You have 12 Earth hours to reach consensus. We will accept nothing less than complete surrender." The screens went dark. President Park looked at Admiral Do-hyun. "Will that be enough time?" "It has to be," he replied. Exactly 1 hour after the ultimatum, Tereth dropships detached from the main vessels. Each sleek craft descended toward pre-selected locations, military bases, government centers, and strategic infrastructure points. The first ground forces landed in 12 locations across the globe. In Northern Virginia, 3 Tereth ships touched down outside a major military installation. The hatches opened, and Tereth soldiers emerged, each standing over 2 meters tall and encased in gleaming battle armor. They advanced with practiced precision, moving in formations that showed centuries of military evolution. Earth forces responded exactly as planned, with carefully calibrated resistance. American fighters scrambled to intercept but kept their distance. Ground troops fired just enough to appear determined, then strategically retreated. Similar scenes played out at landing zones worldwide. In the Seoul Command Center, military leaders watched the battles unfold. "They're falling for it," whispered Do-hyun as reports came in. "They think this is all we have." A general pointed to casualty reports. "These retreats are costing lives." "Admiral." "I know," Do-hyun said quietly. "Every soldier understands the sacrifice. We must appear weak until the trap is ready." Underground, Sun-ho's team monitored Quiet Thunder's progress. The virus spread through the Tereth network like a ghost, invisible to their security systems. Each Tereth communication created new pathways for infection. 63% infiltration, Naeyoung reported. The ground forces systems are completely compromised. Park Min-soo looked up from his station. "There's something strange happening. The Tereth are scanning our internet archives, downloading massive amounts of data about human history and culture. They always do this," Jae-yun explained, entering the room with fresh reports. "They study conquered species to identify potential resistance and integration challenges." Sun-ho smiled. "They're actually helping us. Each data transfer creates more pathways for Quiet Thunder." Above ground, the fighting intensified. Tereth forces pushed forward with overwhelming power. Their energy weapons cut through conventional defenses like paper. Their battle armor made them nearly invulnerable to small arms fire. In New Delhi, Tereth troops secured the government district within hours. In Berlin, they controlled major transportation hubs by nightfall. Military analysts estimated complete Tereth control of Earth's major cities within days. The Tereth employed a standard invasion protocol: secure strategic locations, neutralize military resistance, then establish governance centers. They had used these same tactics on 17 worlds. They had never failed. Meanwhile, Quiet Thunder silently spread deeper into their systems. By hour 8 of the 12-hour ultimatum, the virus had reached 91% of the Tereth network. "We've reached their flagship," Sun-ho announced. "Vanter's command vessel is infected." Do-hyun visited the underground facility personally to hear this news. "How much longer until full infiltration?" 2 hours at most, Sun-ho replied. "But we have enough coverage to activate now if necessary." Do-hyun shook his head. "We wait until the last possible moment. President Park is gathering the world's leaders for a global broadcast. We want the Tereth completely focused on that when we strike." As the 12-hour deadline approached, Tereth forces controlled significant portions of every continent. Military resistance continued but was clearly futile. Millions watched in horror as alien troops marched through familiar streets. In a broadcast studio beneath the presidential bunker, President Park prepared to address humanity and the Tereth commanders. Leaders from 30 nations joined via secure video links, their faces grim. "Are we ready?" she asked Do-hyun, who stood just off camera. He checked his secure phone, where Sun-ho had sent a single message: "Quiet Thunder at 98% infiltration. Ready on your command." Do-hyun nodded to the president. "We're ready. Make them believe we're about to surrender." The broadcast began, transmitted to every functioning screen on Earth and directly to the Tereth command ships. As President Park spoke of humanity's desire for peaceful coexistence and the need to prevent further bloodshed, Do-hyun sent a text message containing just one word: "Now." In the command center beneath Seoul, Admiral Kim Do-hyun watched as President Park finished her address. She spoke of peace, cooperation, and the difficult choices facing humanity. To the Tereth, it sounded like the preamble to surrender. To Earth's defenders, it was buying precious final minutes. Do-hyun's secure phone vibrated. Lee Sun-ho's message was brief: "We've reached critical penetration. 93% of their systems are compromised." The Admiral took a deep breath. 72 hours of careful planning, thousands of lives lost in strategic retreats, all leading to this moment. He typed a single word in response: execute. In the underground facility, Sun Ho turned to his team. Activate Quiet Thunder. Kim Mei-yum's hands moved swiftly over her keyboard, entering the activation sequence. Park Min-soo monitored the system spread on a large display showing the Tereth network. Dr. Han Jae-yun stood behind them, watching as months of work culminated in this moment. Deployment in 3, 2, 1. Ne-young pressed the final key. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The room held its collective breath. Then, across the globe, something extraordinary occurred. In New York, a massive Tereth warship hovering above Manhattan suddenly went dark. Its lights flickered and died. The low hum of its engines fell silent. The ship remained in place. Its anti-gravity systems still functioned, but it was clearly powerless. In Cairo, Tereth soldiers advancing through the streets froze mid-step, their battle armor locked in position. Some toppled over, unable to move inside their suddenly rigid exoskeletons. In Sydney, Tereth weapon systems went dark. Energy cannons powered down. Shield generators failed. Command systems stopped responding. Across every continent, on every Tereth ship, the pattern repeated. The invincible armada became, in an instant, a collection of floating metal husks. The unstoppable ground forces transformed into helpless figures trapped inside their own armor. In the underground facility, screens displayed success rates as Quiet Thunder executed its programmed commands. Weapons systems, disabled. Navigation, disabled. Shields, disabled. Communications, selectively enabled. Sun Ho watched in amazement. It worked. It actually worked. Ne-young was already running diagnostics. Life support systems remain operational as planned. They're alive but completely helpless. Min-soo pointed to a flashing alert. The flagship above New York still has limited functionality. Command-level overrides are trying to fight the virus. Sun Ho nodded. That's expected. The Supreme Commander's ship has additional security, but they can't do anything except receive our message. Admiral Do-hyun received the confirmation he was waiting for. He walked to a prepared communication station, straightened his uniform, and faced the camera. The technician gave him a thumbs up. They had established a direct link to the Tereth flagship. Your invasion has failed, Do-hyun said calmly, his voice transmitted to Supreme Commander Vanter. Your forces are immobilized. This is not a surrender. This is a warning. He continued, his voice level and controlled. We could have disabled your life support. We could have killed every Tereth soldier and crew member with a single command. We chose not to. Remember this mercy when you report to your empire. In the flagship hovering above the United Nations building, Supreme Commander Vanter stared at the human's face on his command screen. Around him, his bridge crew frantically tried to restore control of their systems. Nothing responded. Status reports from across the fleet all said the same thing. Complete systems failure except for life support and minimal communications. Impossible, Vanter hissed. How could primitives do this? His tactical officer, visibly shaken, looked up from a still-functioning analysis terminal. They attacked through our quantum network. They used our own communication systems against us. No species has ever. Vanter began, then fell silent. No species had ever done this, because no species had developed along Earth's technological path. Humans had created digital security measures that Tereth had never needed to consider. On the ground, Earth forces moved quickly. In Washington, D.C., soldiers approached the frozen Tereth troops cautiously at first, then with growing confidence. Special teams with cutting tools began removing the aliens from their locked armor. Similar scenes played out worldwide. The paralyzed invaders, once terrifying, now seemed almost pitiful. Many Tereth soldiers showed signs of panic as they were extracted from their suits, their eyes wide, their breathing rapid. In Berlin, a Tereth commander was among the first captured. Once removed from his armor, he stood surrounded by human soldiers, his tall frame less imposing without the exoskeleton. "You will regret this," he warned. "The Empire will send more ships." The German colonel facing him smiled slightly. "Then we'll disable those too." Within hours, Earth had captured over 15,000 Tereth troops without firing a shot. The prisoners were treated humanely, placed in hastily established containment facilities, provided with appropriate atmosphere and nutrition. Earth's leaders had agreed that demonstrating compassion was as important as showing strength. In the Seoul Command Center, President Park addressed a jubilant group of world leaders via video conference. "This is only the beginning," she cautioned. "We've won the first battle, but the war may be just starting." Admiral Do-hyun nodded in agreement. "The Tereth Empire won't accept defeat easily. They'll analyze what happened and attempt to develop countermeasures. Then we better make good use of this time," said the American president. "How soon can we begin studying their technology?" In the underground facility, Sun Ho's team was already at work on the next phase. With access to the Tereth systems, they began downloading technical specifications, star charts, weapons designs, everything humanity would need to defend itself when the Empire inevitably returned. Dr. Han Jae-yun focused on the Tereth database of conquered worlds. "There are coordinates here for 17 inhabited planets," she told Sun Ho, "all currently under Tereth control." "Potential allies," Sun Ho said, understanding immediately. 3 days after the failed invasion, Admiral Do-hyun stood on the roof of the military headquarters in Seoul. Above him, a disabled Tereth ship hung in the night sky, its dark mass outlined against the stars. Soon, Earth would begin the process of dismantling these vessels, learning their secrets, adapting their technology. His phone buzzed with a message from President Park. "Supreme Commander Vanter has requested to speak. He says he's authorized to negotiate." Do-hyun smiled slightly. Humanity had done what 17 other worlds could not. They had stopped the unstoppable Tereth Empire. Not with superior firepower or advanced technology, but with ingenuity and mercy. The warning shot had been fired. The real battle for Earth's place in the galaxy was just beginning. The launch pad at the former Kennedy Space Center glowed with blue light as engines powered up. 6 months of round-the-clock work had transformed the facility into something entirely new. Scientists and engineers from 30 nations had worked together to understand and rebuild Tereth technology. Today was the result. The UES Horizon stood ready for its maiden voyage, gleaming silver against the Florida dawn. At 100 meters long, it was tiny compared to Tereth warships, but it represented something unprecedented. Humanity's first faster-than-light vessel. President Park Yoo-jin stood on the observation platform with other world leaders. They watched in silence as the countdown reached 0. There was no dramatic blast of fire or cloud of smoke. The horizon simply distorted the air around it, then vanished with a soft boom as air rushed to fill the space it had occupied. "To Mars, and back in 8 minutes," whispered Lee Sun-ho, checking his watch. After helping defeat the Tereth invasion, he now led Earth's new Deep Space Communication Division. Right on schedule, the horizon reappeared. The crowd erupted in cheers. Humanity had crossed the threshold, from an earthbound species to travelers of the stars. Dr. Han Jae-yun watched the celebration from a separate building. Her mind was already on her next mission. Studying Tereth databases had revealed something crucial. Earth was not alone in resisting the Empire. Other worlds had fought back over the centuries, though none had succeeded until now. "Are you ready?" Admiral Kim Do-hyun asked, joining her at the window. Jae-yun nodded. "The translation systems are prepared. If these other species are willing to speak with us, we'll understand each other." 2 weeks later, the Horizon departed on its first true mission. Jae-yun led a small team of diplomats and scientists to a planet called Viridian, home to a species that had been under Tereth rule for 3 centuries. The journey took just 18 days using the captured Tereth drive technology. When they arrived, they found a world of vast oceans and floating cities. The Viridians, tall, graceful beings with iridescent skin, greeted them with caution that turned to excitement when they learned of Earth's victory. "For generations, we have served the Empire," said Elder Mila, leader of the largest Viridian city. "We believed resistance was impossible." Jai-Yun shared videos of the disabled Terith ships, of the soldiers frozen in their armor. "We come seeking allies, not subjects," she explained. "Earth believes in cooperation between equals." From Viridian, they traveled to Kalos, a desert world whose people had been mining precious metals for the Empire for 5 centuries. The reptilian Colossi listened silently to Jai-Yun's proposal, their vertical pupils narrowing in thought. "You wish us to fight?" asked Prefect Soran, his scales shifting color with emotion. "We wish you to stand with us," Jai-Yun corrected. "Together, we are stronger than alone." Their third destination was Nimbala, a gas giant where the native beings, collections of light and energy, had been forced to generate power for Terith ships. The Nimbalans communicated through patterns of color and light that Jai-Yun's team struggled to interpret. "They're asking how they can trust that humans won't become the new Terith," her translator explained. Jai-Yun thought carefully, then responded, "Judge us by our actions. We disabled the Terith fleet but chose not to destroy it. We seek partnership, not dominion." After 3 months of travel and negotiation, Jai-Yun returned to Earth with representatives from all 3 worlds. Together, they drafted the founding document of the Stellar Cooperative, an alliance of free planets committed to mutual defense and shared prosperity. President Park hosted the signing ceremony in Seoul, where the fight against the Terith had begun. "Today marks the beginning of a new era," she announced, "not just for Earth, but for all worlds that value freedom." Meanwhile, Earth's engineers continued to adapt Terith technology. New ships were built, some using captured vessels as a base, others designed from scratch, incorporating both human innovation and alien science. A defense fleet took shape in Earth orbit, growing larger each month. 1 year after the failed invasion, Admiral Kim Do-hyun prepared for the most dangerous mission yet, a diplomatic journey to the Terith homeworld. Intelligence gathered from captured ships indicated the Empire was in turmoil. News of Earth's victory had spread, inspiring rebellions on multiple worlds. "This is too risky," President Park argued during the final planning meeting. "They could destroy your ship the moment you arrive." Do-hyun smiled slightly. "That's why we're not sending just 1 ship." The Earth fleet that departed for the Terith homeworld consisted of 30 vessels, a mixture of converted Terith warships and new human designs. At their center flew the UES Peacemaker, carrying Do-hyun and his diplomatic team. After a journey of 6 weeks, they arrived at Terith Prime, a massive planet orbiting a red giant star. Dozens of Terith defense ships moved to intercept them. Do-hyun ordered his fleet to hold position just outside weapons range. "Open a channel to their leadership," he commanded. The Terith High Council had never received an alien delegation before. For millennia, they had been the ones to dictate terms. Now they sat in their ancient chamber as Admiral Kim Do-hyun's image appeared before them. "We come with an offer, not an ultimatum," Do-hyun told them, his voice translated into the musical Terith language. "Earth and its allies have formed the Stellar Cooperative. We invite the Terith Empire to join as an equal member." Murmurs filled the chamber. Supreme Leader Calver rose from his ornate throne. "You dare to offer terms to us? The Empire has ruled the stars for 10,000 years, and it can continue to exist," Do-hyun replied calmly. "But the days of conquest are over. Join the cooperative as equals or continue alone, knowing what humanity is capable of." He didn't need to elaborate. Every Terith had seen the reports of their invincible fleet disabled by human technology. "We have brought representatives from 3 former Terith subjects," Do-hyun continued. "They are prepared to discuss fair terms for a new relationship." The debate within the Terith government lasted for weeks. Traditionalists argued for assembling a larger fleet to crush Earth. Moderates pointed out that if humans could disable their ships once, they could do it again. While the Tereth deliberated, more news reached them. 5 more conquered worlds had declared independence after learning about Earth's victory. The once mighty empire was crumbling. 3 months after Du-Hyun's arrival, Supreme Leader Calver signed the preliminary agreement to join the Stellar Cooperative. The terms were strict. The Empire would release all conquered worlds, maintain only defensive forces, and share technology with all cooperative members. "This is the end of the Tereth Empire," lamented one elder council member. "No," Calver replied, watching the human ships through a viewport. "It is a transformation. For too long, we have ruled through fear. Perhaps there is another way to greatness." When Admiral Du-Hyun returned to Earth, he brought news of success. Within a year, the former Tereth Empire had been reorganized into an association of independent worlds. Some chose to join the cooperative, others preferred independence, but all were free. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not just through technological ingenuity, but through strategic restraint. Earth became known across the galaxy as the world that defeated an empire without destroying it. The civilization that fought not with weapons, but with warnings. On the 5th anniversary of the invasion, Dr. Han Jae-yun stood in the new Galactic Embassy in Seoul. Representatives from 27 worlds mingled in the Grand Hall, their varied forms and languages creating a tapestry of diversity. "Did you ever imagine this?" asked Lee Sun-ho, joining her by the window. Jae-yun smiled, watching a young Tereth diplomat deep in conversation with a Viridian elder. "No, I was just trying to understand their language. I never thought we'd change the language of the stars." Outside, the night sky sparkled with possibilities, no longer a barrier, but a road home.